joining us now, chief strategist for the Bush-Cheney 2004 campaign and MSNBC senior political contributor, Matthew Dowd. So, Matthew, how do you see these two strategies?
Well, I think your question about whether or not somebody's going to talk about the future is completely apropos and necessary. If I were in the Biden campaign, I would be talking about the danger Donald Trump poses to the future of the average American and do it in so many different ways. Do it to them economically, do it for them Social Security, Medicare, do it for them on education, and do it for them broadly on freedoms, whether it's Roe versus Wade or other freedoms they fear about. But I think it can't just be a reminder of how crazy and chaotic and coarse that Donald Trump is. I think people mostly have that baked in. It has to take that and then put voters in a position of, do you want this person making decisions on these things for your future? That, to me, is the best strategy going forward.
So I thought it was interesting when President Biden talked about Supreme Court justices just the other day on stage with Jimmy Kimmel and former President Obama, telling voters that if Donald Trump is reelected, there is a very real chance that he could get 2 more nominations, that there would be a lot of pressure on Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito to resign during a Republican presidency, and they're certainly up there in age. Is that something that galvanizes? I know the Supreme Court has always galvanized the right. Does that threat now galvanize the left and not just the left, but the independents?
Well, that's the voters that the voters that Biden needs to focus on are not Republicans and are not Trump supporters. 45% of the country is going to vote for Donald Trump no matter what in this. And basically 45 or 45% is going to vote for Joe Biden no matter what in this. It's that group, it's motivating Democrats, but it's also talking to independents. We saw that in the campaigns in the aftermath of Dobbs, that a argument about loss of freedom in the Supreme Court works. My problem with just leaving it at he's going to get 2 more justices is too much of a bank shot for most voters. What I think you have to tell them is if Donald Trump is president again and he gets these nominees, these are the things you're going to lose: the access to birth control, voters' access to voting. They're going to put more restrictions and not defend voter rights. And so he has to make the argument more concrete with meat. It can't be just Donald Trump's going to get 2 Supreme Court nominees or how many ever he's going to get. It's got to tell them, what does that mean to the average person in Michigan or Pennsylvania or Nevada? What does that mean for their life that he may get those appointments?
Why haven't you seen more focus on that? We see so much from the Biden campaign saying that Donald Trump doesn't have the character, that he tried to inspire an insurrection, threats to democracy. And I think anybody who's afraid of Donald Trump in that way is already very firmly, that message has already been received by the voters who are who see it as true. And they're already Joe Biden voters, like they're done. Why is the Biden campaign not going for, do you think that message applies to the 10% or so voters that you're talking about that haven't made up their minds yet? Are those the voters that are affected by a message like that? Or is it something that's more transactional, more immediate, more here's how your life can be improved or worsened if I'm president versus Donald Trump being president?
Well, Katie, you go to the crux of how campaigns are supposed to operate, which is, and normally, and when I was doing the Bush campaigns in 2000 and 2004, what you try to do is have a message that plays both with motivating your base and with independents or swing voters in the course of this. I don't know if in this case that's possible. I know the reminder of Donald Trump and how he acts and how he behaves is very motivational for the base. And what you normally try to do is lock down the base, motivate them early, because you want volunteers and you want campaign contributions early. And what you do in the last 3 or 4 or 5 weeks is go to as sort of directly to swing voters. And my expectation is that's what the Biden campaign's going to do. Right now, they want to motivate and get volunteers and campaign contributions. But in the final 5 weeks, I think they're going to do exactly what you said. And what I was reminding folks of is appeal to voters, not for what Biden can do. I don't think that's a winning strategy. I think it's to remind them of the threat Donald has to their lives and their futures. That's
interesting. I haven't had anybody reply with that level of specificity, that right now it is about base donors, it's about base motivation, it's about getting volunteers out there, and later it's going to be about convincing that last 10% who are, I think, already naturally going to be late deciders. Matthew Dowd, thank you so much.